For coming out to the Youth Council. This is our third meeting, February the 9th. It's 4 p.m. I want to start on time just to honor everybody's time and commitment to the program and things that you guys have to do before and after. So it is now 4 p.m. We start the meetings off with a prayer and the Pledge of Allegiance. So if you can stand, we'll have a student come do the prayer, and then following that student, we'll have another student do the Pledge of Allegiance.
Our Father, the light does not work. Our Father, I thank you for bringing us here safely, and I pray that you'll take us home safely. Thank you for allowing us to be able to congregate today, and I pray that whatever happens here, we'll be able to follow through with it. Amen.
Okay, if you please face the flag. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
And so for the purposes of live stream, I'll just keep walking up to reintroduce what we're doing to give everybody that is that for if they're rewatching this or a first time watcher, to kind of give them a little briefing. Obviously, this is the Beaumont Youth Advisory Council, comprising of 6 schools: Harmony Science Academy, Kelly, Beaumont Early College High School, Beaumont United, Westbrook, and Legacy. Yeah, so those are the 6 schools that are part of this program. The idea of the program that it starts in September and ends in May. We're more of a hybrid program because we begin in January pretty much. And so we'll start with our agenda, and we'll bring up our first presenter to start the meeting. And after our first presenter comes, then we'll open it up for public comments. Due to scheduling, we'll allow the police department to present first, and then we'll go into public comments so anybody from the public can come up and make a comment to the youth. So first things first, we'll have Ms. Carol, if she can come up and speak to our youth. So let's give her a hand as she comes.
Good evening, Council. Is it on? Can you hear me? Okay. So first of all, this is exciting, and I am thrilled to be able to work with the youth in the community because we do have some serious issues that, as a police department, we could use your help with. And what I'm going to be talking about today is fentanyl. I know we've all heard some rumblings and grumblings about that via social media, the news, some of the issues that other areas are having, but we're seeing a rise in these issues here, even locally in the city of Beaumont. So what I'm here to ask you today is if you will help partner with our police department and the rest of the community and help us with a One Pill Can Kill initiative that they have in several other locations. Unsuspecting teens in our community are getting fake pills made from deadly fentanyl on social media and other locations, not just in the city of Beaumont, but all over the United States. Fentanyl is 50 to 100 times more potent than morphine. You can't smell it or taste it. You can't tell if fentanyl is in the pills by looking at them. The amount of fentanyl that it takes to overdose is equivalent to 2 grains of sand. With unsuspecting teens, whether they're going to parties or they think they're getting a pill from a friend for pain, something like hydrocodone, oxy, any of those things that we're coming across now, our narcotics detectives and our people at the Jefferson County Crime Lab, when I work with them and put together reports for when like governors and people like that come into town, we're seeing stats from 2021 that are already very alarming. And what I'm asking you today is for help developing not just PowerPoints, but different videos, different things we can do that can target not just high school age, but middle school age, because we're seeing deaths are occurring in ages as young as 10 and 8 years old, even in the state of Texas. I challenge you to look up, just look up fentanyl. And some of the videos that they have out there, they're not hard to find. There's a lot of information all over the internet, social media, and it's scary and alarming for our city. So I'm asking on behalf of the children of our community that you, as our youth leaders, help us with some initiatives. I'm willing to sit down with you and work with you on it, as well as some other members of the police department, but I'm asking you to help us. Okay? Thank you. If you have any questions? Any questions?
Yes, ma'am. So thank you very much for coming. We greatly appreciate the police department sending a representative to speak to us. So about the sources of fentanyl in our community. So where would you say the greatest source of fentanyl is for youth in Beaumont?
Well, I can tell you where it originally comes from and how it's getting here. As far as the actual drug dealers, it's everywhere. Everything that we're coming across now, whether we're doing a search warrant, from stuff that people are buying on the streets. Now, these are not prescribed fentanyl or, the type that you get when you go in to have surgery. This is the street drugs, basically. And, you have people that are having a hard time getting things like Adderall, and they're turning to the streets to get it. And it may not kill everyone that takes it, but because your average person that's used to taking drugs a lot of times have a higher tolerance for the drugs, or like they may say, well, I have to take this much meth, or meth is still our largest problem here. But fentanyl has just been worming its way into everything that we're doing. It's in our pills and things. So a person that may think, well, I usually take this many Adderall and I need to take more because I have such a high tolerance, will get a hold of something with fentanyl in it, and it's deadly. They don't understand just how deadly just a little bit of fentanyl can be to them. So yes, I can't say there's this person or that person. It's a problem everywhere. We need to get the message to children and let them know at an early age.
Yes, ma'am. And just one second question, sorry. So what is BPD currently doing now to alleviate the crisis?
We have a narcotics unit that focuses primarily on drug-related crimes, and they target street-level dealers. They work with different task force. We work with DEA. We work with even a lot of different federal agencies and other local narcotics. We have a Jefferson County Narcotics Task Force. So we partner together and do what we can to combat it. But, enforcement is one side of it, but we need to be proactive and get the message out to youth. I'm doing my part. I'm trying to get out and speak with different schools and talk to the kids, but we could sure use helping put out different information and initiatives and ideas that will get the message out.
Thank you.
Yes. Okay.
Hello. Hi. I'm Miriam, head of public safety. So when you said you wanted us to collaborate, what were you thinking? Like hold meetings?
We could meet, or you guys could email, send ideas. We could bounce those off back and forth. There's different types of campaigns, even maybe advertising or just creating, some areas have "one pill can kill" is their slogan. Maybe something catchy for the city of Beaumont that'll get kids' attention. I don't know if maybe you would be interested in creating your own committee on it. That's up to you guys, but I'm open for suggestions, and I'll work with you guys on whatever level you need me to.
Okay.
Anyone else? Yes.
I was wondering if also maybe you'd be open to come to, like, especially the high schools, because I feel like that's a big issue, and I feel like that's when they're really starting to get into it. If maybe y'all would be willing to come speak to the kids, or I know there's also been a decline in job, like, maybe a lot of jobs are needed, and a lot of the high school students, they don't know what they want to do after high school, so maybe this could be an opportunity for them to see that maybe being in the police department might be an opportunity for them.
Yes, ma'am. That's what our unit does. We go around and we speak to all the schools in the area. We start from elementary up. We work with all ages and grades, and we also address suicide, bullying, social media issues. But right now, today I'm bringing forward the fentanyl issue because I'm really concerned about even city manager, our new city manager here has talked about the problems that he was having at his previous city, Buda, kids dying in the schools, overdosing with fentanyl. So we want to head that off here in the city of Beaumont, and I think we have a great team of leaders here that would be good at coming up with some ideas that would work for younger people. Okay. All right. Anyone else? Okay. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
So I had the students kind of transition. We had some absentees, so I just want to fill those seats up. All right. Public comment.
All right, so we're going to be moving towards the public comment portion of the agenda. So if there are any members of the public, you have 3 minutes to speak on any item on the agenda. So the time for that begins now. So if anyone would like to speak. All right, so moving on to presentations. So the February group's PowerPoint is today. So if they would please begin their presentation. We're ready for that now. Okay. We're going to move the February group first.
Hello, my name is Arla Torres, and I come to bring with my group the dangers of the bird scooters. Next slide, please. Our partner is not here, so I will go for her. The company information states that they only have a few restrictions on the bird scooters. They are to be parked out of the way or away from pedestrians and never blocking driveways. The riders must be 18 years of age to access the scooters, and they're also encouraged to wear helmets on every ride and obey all the rules. It states that it must be one rider per scooter, and they're encouraged to ride in bike lanes instead of the roads. Next slide, please. The bird scooters pose a threat to any Beaumont citizen. Although the scooters are specifically unsafe for minors without a permit, the bird scooters have no regulations and can be ridden anywhere in the city as long as payment is provided. This can lead to injuries and even fatalities. Next slide, please. Citizens from all over the United States have been getting hurt over these scooters. According to a study in 2019, 271 people were injured from a bird scooter-related accident in Austin, Texas. These accidents range from falls, broken bones, hospitalizations, and fatalities. This is due to the lack of restrictions these scooters have embedded within their operation times. The small restrictions that these bird scooters have, without them shutting down over certain periods of time, can lead to injuries and increases crime rate in areas, specifically in Beaumont, since the bird scooters can be accessed in the middle of the night. Next slide, please. Unfortunately, the bird scooters have been responsible for the lives of some of the citizens of the United States. According to a blog made in 2022, around 71 people have died due to bird-related accidents. These numbers are anticipated to rise within the next year. Next slide, please.
I have a question before I go. For the last presentations, we went up there and said it. Are we allowed to do that again or no?
Yes, Riyash, you want to address that?
Yeah, you can go down and you can present if you would like to.
So the company that these bird scooters belong to is based in California, in Los Angeles, and it's called Bird Rides. And the city of Beaumont actually partnered with Bird Rides in last year, March of 2022, almost nearly a year ago. And the goal of partnering with Bird Rides was to bring environmentally safe e-scooters in several locations around the city. And so the idea was to have an alternative form of transportation that was both efficient and sustainable. And on Bird's website, they state that riders must be 18 years of age, and they recommend wearing a helmet. However, this overly optimistic idea of law-abiding citizens riding e-scooters on the same roads as vehicles was not the reality. While Bird does have an age requirement, lack of enforcement of this demand has wreaked havoc to the city of Beaumont, with numerous examples of teenagers and even preteens who have no understanding of road laws using these scooters. Moreover, Bird only recommends wearing a helmet while riding, the key word being recommend and not require and enforce. In a 2019 study, the most common injuries associated with e-scooters are head injuries, which make up 40.2% of scooter-related injuries in the emergency room.
So I come with a solution to this issue. I feel like we should have an age limit. As he said, there is an age limit to be 18 and over, but it's not enforced, which could be very hard to enforce because you can find them anywhere, so anybody could get on them. So I feel having an age limit will reduce the amount of youth accidents. No child under the age of 12 should be permitted to ride the scooters, because you can have a 6-year-old on a scooter that's not even tall enough to see over the scooter and holding it like this. That's not safe. And having at least one adult for every child between the ages of 12 and 17 years old would be ideal. And if you're 18, you could ride freely, which was said. Also, I feel we should have a driver's license, because having a driver's license, you know the rules of the road and what's safe to ride on, where is it safe to go, which lane to ride on, which lane not to ride on, where to turn, and things like that. So requiring everyone to have a license or permit will help ensure that riders know the traffic laws, which will reduce the amount of accidents that happen. We want to ensure that everyone riding the scooters knows the basic traffic laws. Also, having restricted areas, not allowing kids to ride on highways. I've seen kids ride to my school all the way from the other side of town with these scooters, which is not safe at all. Riding on highways with a scooter is not safe. Also, not allowing them to ride on streets at all. We need to find a way to build sidewalks for those scooters and restricting the scooters itself actually from going on busy roads. It would help a lot in decreasing the rate of accidents. Thank you.
Okay, so just one question about it. And any of y'all from the group, feel free to answer. So, what's the current regulatory environment like for bird scooters? Like, what are the rules, like as they stand now?
So the rules of the scooter, or like the enforcement of these rules?
The rules, like on the books.
All right, so on the website, you have to be 18 years of age, and that the way it works is you download an app, you scan it, there should be like a QR code or something on the Bird app, and you're supposed to verify your age. I'm not sure exactly how the verification process works. I'm not sure if it's easy for you to lie about your age or not, but I do know that there's no way to enforce these rules. Enforce if a minor is on the streets. I'm not sure about the way how they enforce it, and there's no helmet mandate for at all.
Yeah, okay. So, like, the PowerPoint stipulated that we would lower the limit to 12 years of age, right? So nobody under 12 would be able to ride the bird scooters.
That was correct.
So if the current age limit is 18, how would it prevent kids from utilizing bird scooters if we lower the age limit by 6 years?
In Beaumont, we can make that a policy. We don't have to obviously use the rules of the birds. We can make it a policy for us to allow kids under the age of 12 to have it.
Okay, thank you. Does anyone else have any questions? Keon.
So you guys talked about doing enforcement in restricted areas, and you proposed a solution with the driver's license. So I think what you guys are trying to say is that there's issues with enforcement, right? So how would you solve that exactly? Because obviously you have verification, but verification doesn't mean enforcement. So what solutions do you guys or ideas do you guys have regarding that?
I feel like Beaumont PD, they do patrol areas, specifically in areas where there's parks, libraries, or anywhere really. I feel like it should be enforced in a sense of if a cop happens to see a child not following the rules of a bird scooter, or they see them in an unrestricted area, they should stop them and, deal with them accordingly. Maybe propose a fine for parents letting their children go without permission, or getting in contact with an adult if they're under the age of 12. And if they are over the age of 12, which is what the limit we are enforcing, and they're still breaking the rules, there should still be a fine enforced.
Okay, so essentially more security, more police involvement. Okay.
Any further questions?
Well, I was going to say, I feel that we shouldn't just be able to allow the bikes to be anywhere. I feel we should have a certain spot where the bikes could go and have somebody working there to sign permits and make sure everybody has a driver's license and of age.
Thank you. Yeah, Yash.
I was thinking maybe instead of a fine, we could do community service that would get them more involved in the community, and I feel like you would learn a bigger lesson that way than by paying a fine.
Saad.
Yeah, and lastly, I would just like to point out that this isn't some issue that's only affecting Beaumont. Bird scooters have been all over the nations, like Seattle. I think San Francisco, cities in Ohio have all had lawsuits against the Bird Rides company.
Any further comment? All right, so we're going to move to agenda item number 2, discussing the 2023 Youth Advisory Commission Summit. So, sir, if you could put that presentation up. Thank you.
Okay, perfect. I guess I'll lead part of the discussion, and the presentation will be next, right after I follow the discussion. We'll probably ask Councilman Turner to come make some comments. Me and him attended the conference in Dallas this past weekend, and Miss Lundy, Brittany Lundy, with Bowman Early College, she was an instructor, so she came as a chaperone. We left. What time did we leave? Around 2 something. We planned to leave around 12, but we left around 2. We had some glitches on the way there, but I think it was a time of bonding. I think we had fun. I learned that I answered questions too vague, and I need to be a little bit more detailed. So I was asked about different artists and things like that. Apple Music, it was very uncomfortable, but I'm joking. No, it was a fun time. So we took 5 students to a trip in Dallas. It was a Texas Youth Advisory Summit. I was able to attend. They had sessions for adults, so there are other groups across state of Texas who have youth councils. One thing I did take away was because of I'll start with this. When I grew up, I went to programs like the YMCA. They have Boys and Girls Club programs, different community outreach groups. And I think with the shortage in funding in those organizations, communities are expecting cities to take on that kind of burden by creating a program. So most of the programs that we talked to, they were more community outreach, volunteer heavy. They were not really heavy on policy, agenda, the format that we have, which I think sets us apart. It's a unique opportunity for us to stay focused on being a governmental entity, but as well growing in our community outreach. And so I walked away thinking, I had programs like the YMCA growing up, but nowadays those programs are underfunded. If they're not, they're not in Beaumont, but they may not be in other communities as well. And so cities are taking on these programs, and so you're starting to see youth councils form. But, that was one thing I noticed. Most of the groups we communicated with either hadn't started a program or their program was more community outreach. And what, I left with thinking we can do a better job. And this is our third meeting, so we have a lot of room to grow, but we could do a better job by supporting organizations that are currently doing it without duplicating that service, still being a governmental body and do more education around government and policy and procedure. And so I left encouraged. I left thinking that we could be the best youth council in the state of Texas. I'm very confident on that. I'm pretty sure that's going to happen within this year or in the years moving forward, the way we're set up. And I think the youth feel that myself and Councilman Turner and, our staff and council and everybody that's involved really care about the youth. So, that's a starting point. They feel like, we're not there for agenda or anything like that. We're there really to serve them, to learn. And we're also being fluid in our approach. We're allowing the youth to tell us what their issues are, and maybe they have a different system of how to solve problems. And so we're trying to walk through that process and allow them to help us solve issues that they face, because those same issues they face, we face as a city. And so I think I left thinking it's a win-win. It's a great opportunity. We have a great group of kids, and they're excited about going to other conferences. So that's another conversation. But I'll, yield to Councilman Turner, and he can talk about his experience at the conference.
Councilman A.J. Turner, Beaumont, Texas, 3170 Yasmin Dior, 77705. First and foremost, I want to say thank you guys for even attending the conference. One thing that I did realize is our setup is completely different from most youth councils. We actually give you guys the opportunity to engage, create policy, and most importantly, what we always talk about. We're going to identify the problems, but what we're going to do, we're going to come with solutions. So the presentation was great with the bird scooters. I'm going to touch on that real quickly before we move on. Right now, the city of Beaumont is currently at a pause with bird scooters because we're assessing and evaluating their contract, seeing what edits and what things we want to make, and if we're going to continue or if we're going to stop. So I think we had a good starting point today. What I really like you guys to see is, what I really like to see with you guys is I took some notes. I noticed y'all said IDs has to be used to rent it. So right now, Bird has their standard laws and agreements, but we, the council, we can overpower that and say, yeah, we're going to take it a step further. Y'all might have this, you got to be 18 years of age, but to rent it in Beaumont, Texas, you got to provide an ID. So I'm glad I'm listening to y'all because now I can understand some of the concerns that y'all have. So the ID can be one. Scooters being in isolated areas, we could put a geofence up so it can only be in certain areas, which y'all choose. Main thoroughfares, I think you guys need to identify the streets that you feel like are too busy for Bird. So next, I would ask y'all to supply me with a list of streets. And now I can go to staff and say, these are the list of streets our youth council has identified that we feel is unsafe. So I think y'all on the right track. Everything y'all said was right, but let me get into the conference. What impressed me the most is I feel like our 5 students stood out. Every room I went in, I noticed y'all were kind of leading the conversation. I seen some kids kind of sitting back, but I seen y'all actually taking the lead. And that's one thing that really impressed me. To say you guys have been only active for 3 weeks and we have had other groups that have been active for years, you couldn't tell the difference. One thing I want y'all to think about is we went to their conference. So let's figure out a way that we can create a conference out here next year. All right? So now what we want to do moving forward when we travel, let's build relationships, let's network, let's get contacts. So we can formulate our own conference in the city of Beaumont. And I think once y'all get a feel for how they're doing things, we can put our own twist to it and make sure we have the best conference in Texas, like Miles said. I think y'all are really standing out. Civil discourse was a real good one for me. Y'all had the opportunity to speak with lawyers, different versions of lawyers, and if you were interested in going in that career, you would know so. I think that'd be real good for you. So the next one, I'm going to make sure you really pay attention to that. Another one was professionalism. That stood out because it's just the basic necessities of simply being professional. You know, when it comes to attire, how to speak, what to wear, I think they hit the nail on the head with that one. The other one was, help me out, it was two more. Marketing and branding, which is my favorite. You did a great job, Rolette, with marketing and branding. Like, you killed it. And to say you killed it, the good thing is what you actually do on the youth council right now.
Communications and publications.
Exactly. And guess who's in this room right now? Our communications and public communications director. Her name is Lauren. A young adult, but she's over all the communications in the city of Beaumont, okay? So I want to make sure I connect y'all before you leave out. Oh, well, I'm too late. Yeah, you a step ahead of the curve. I love that. So, yeah, that's great. But that's another thing, Miles. You took the initiative and you've already made the contacts. And that's what I like about this group. Miles, you asked him to answer the question. You guys are running the show. We're not here to tell you guys what to do. You're running the show. You want the bird policy change? I'm telling y'all, present it to me and I will present it for y'all. Or we can present it together. Because Sam is now approved to make a presentation to the council monthly, okay? Last thing, it was one more that you guys did. What? Initiative and development. They gave scenarios where you guys had to have solutions to problems, and there wasn't a lot of time to figure it out. Y'all all went up there. Y'all submitted your solutions, and I think everybody from Beaumont done a great job. I specifically tried to watch our kids, or young adults. I don't want to say kids, but y'all done a great job, and I'm just looking forward to seeing y'all grow throughout this process, all right? So if y'all got any questions or anything y'all know from me, I was extremely proud to say I sat in the audience and watched y'all perform at a high level of excellence. I really appreciate it.
All right,
Thank you
before
very
we,
much, Councilman Turner, for your time.
You mind if I jump in? Before we move to our next point, I do want to acknowledge two staff members that are here. Lauren Monette, she's over our communications department, did an excellent job with a media training. That it was a 2-day training where staff, you know, directors and people who are interacting with the media were trained. You know, I think that I'm a outspoken, well-spoken kind of person, but I learned a lot today in that training, and she's been connecting with Arlette in our Youth Advisory Council. We want to thank you for all of you doing and, you know, supporting us in this program and the steps we're taking forward. And also our city manager, Mr. Kenneth Williams, has just walked in. Could you come to the podium and address the youth? He was a big part of why this program is here, so you got 3 minutes.
For having to address you. Kenneth Williams, City Manager, Beaumont. Pleasure to be here today. Council member, I'm still apologizing to you. I'd like to say I'm grateful and appreciate the things that you are doing. You're setting an example for all of the young people of Beaumont that's going to go well into the future. You don't realize the impact that you're having, but one day you will. You'll think back, say, I was sitting at the dais. I had a key point in making decisions, and then you're going to come back and actually be a part of that decision-making process with the city or other parts of government. So I thank you for what you're doing. I thank the work that Miles is doing with you. I appreciate that. Of course, the council and council member Turner and the work that he's doing with you. He's really sacrificing to work with you, and you couldn't have a better mentor, council member to work with you. So just thank you for what you're doing. If we can do anything to help you, just let us know. We'll be glad to. Thank you.
Thank you very much, sir. So we're going to be moving on to item number 3. Oh, sorry. Item number 4, we're the original PowerPoint. You're right. Item number 3, presentation from delegates who attended the conference. You guys have the floor.
Hello, guys. So this past weekend, I had the opportunity to attend the Dallas, Texas Youth Advisory Council Summit with Yash, Catherine, and then Miriam and Arlette. Do you want to go to the next slide? Okay, so the first day there, like Miles has said, we were a little bit off with time, so we weren't able to arrive to our first event. We made it to our the first event of the night, which was the Youth Advisory Council Mixer. And there we were able to spend like a good 20 minutes and interact with a few of the other council councils. Do y'all want to add anything for the first night?
So, like Isaac and Mr. Moss said, we had a couple bumps, but we were able to go for the 20 minutes and enjoy the dance, where we kind of got a little preview of what the council or the conference was going to be like for the next few days. I don't know, it kind of made me feel at ease a little bit, see the leaders that were going to be leading our conference for the next few days.
Also, the leaders for our conference were our age. It ranged from like 15 to like 17.
They were like I think they were from different districts of Dallas, and each district came together to make the conference, so they all like collaborated off of different schools and branches.
Yeah, and we got to stay right next to the big ball that they have in Dallas. That was really cool. Okay, and then the next slide. Okay, and then for day 2, it was mostly workshops. So we had 4 workshops in total, and the first Saturday it was 3 of the workshops, and then Sunday it was 1 since it was half a day. We had initiative development, branding and marketing, professionalism, and civil disclosure. Do you want to speak more on? Whichever one.
I'll speak on professionalism. I guess that was my favorite workshop of the 4. As Mr. Turner mentioned, it was based on attire, your tone of voice, what you say, just what each council represents as a whole. And I found it really interesting. We worked on elevator talks. I had never personally done an elevator talk. I don't know if anyone else that came with us had, but it was really interesting and a really quick way to interact with the other councils that were our age and just kind of get to know them on a better level. And from that, I took away that in those first few seconds, what I said really mattered, because these kids, it was the first time they ever met me. So it was nice to meet them and nice to learn how to present myself to them quickly.
So I can talk about our next one that we had was civil discourse. So in this one, we basically just kind of learn how to communicate in a professional manner with other people without using slang and all the other stuff that we say. And we did discuss some ethical questions that had to do with government, healthcare, and various topics like that. And so what I really liked about this workshop is how the people who were the youth, they were around our age, they were there with us the entire time, and they asked us questions after we gave our answer, which was really good. And that's what I liked about that.
My favorite one obviously was branding and marketing. I have a big bias, as you can tell. But what they asked us to do that day was to make a poster over an initiative and kind of work your way into how you would display that. Me and Miriam actually collaborated on that one personally, and ours was an app to talk about therapies for teens. So it'd be an easy access to have therapy for teens, maybe around our age, ranging from 12 to 18. And we just did all the ways that we could market them towards the public, ranging from children all the way to adults that were interested in signing up their big brothers and sisters or children. And it was really fun, and it was a learning experience to take away some qualities and information that I did not know prior to attending this seminar that I could use in this council.
Y'all left me with the most challenging one. Initiative and development. Basically, we were each randomly handed this prompt. It gave us background and information on the issue we would be addressing, and it showed us barriers. We had barriers, and we had to address those barriers. We also have barriers and benefits, and we also had to address both of those and come up with solutions to the problem. They wanted us to be very specific, step by step, speak appropriately, and get each point down in under 2 minutes. And we had 15 minutes to come up with this idea. And there was, of course, a prize at the end. We had judges, and the judges gave really good feedback on how we did. And everyone did a really great job. I would say that.
So that was pretty much our workshop summed up. And then I wasn't done. I'm sorry. And then after a full day of learning, we got to go. I wouldn't call it a bowling alley because there was bowling pins set up on both sides like at a regular bowling alley. But instead of knocking them down with a bowling ball, you used a football, which was something I had never done before. I don't know if any of our other council members have. And then down there is Mr. Miles enjoying lunch. Sorry, had to expose him a little. Okay, and then now you can go to the next one. Okay, and that was Sunday, our third day, our last day. We had breakfast at the hotel. By this time, we got to interact with a lot of the other councils, and we actually made friends, and that's who we sat with at breakfast, so that was nice. Anybody want to add anything about the morning?
Being able to mix and mingle with all these different students from all over Texas was amazing. I got to meet people that were just like me and the complete opposite from me, and that's totally okay. Because through those new networking and contact informations that we've got from these different students, that tied back to a organization, which was another council, coming from a different city with similar problems, which means that we could always contact each other for secondhand information on solutions that we could bring here that they might have done, and vice versa.
And then that was half a day. So after returning, on our way back, we had to make a stop at Buc-ee's. We were all in favor. And then, so I'd like to thank everybody who was involved with it, especially Mr. Miles. If you could go to the next slide. He was with us there from the beginning to the end. Thank you for dealing with all our indecisiveness. Okay. And then we're good. That was pretty much our trip.
I wanted to add this. It's about if we go on another conference, would y'all be interested in shirts? Matching shirts, because I noticed that a lot of groups had some type of matching item that they wore each day. We were a bit overdressed.
No big deal.
But we looked really good. They also passed out pins and bracelets for schools. So would y'all be interested?
Yes. Okay. I received 3 little pins from different councils that day and a bracelet, I believe. Yeah, so it was nice.
Well, thank you very much for the PowerPoint. That was very well put together, and thank you guys for taking the initiative and attending that. It was very good to be represented at such a well attended event. So thank you all for going. Okay, so we're going to be moving to item number 4, presentation from the Mayor's Homeless Coalition representative. The Homeless Coalition.
Is this better? Okay, I'll start over. Oh, okay. So, hi everyone. I'm Dr. Janelle White. I'm with the Southeast Texas Coalition for the Homeless, which is sponsored by the Southeast Texas Regional Planning Commission. And so I did mention just a moment ago that I'm not with the Beaumont Homeless Coalition because it's actually two different organizations with two different focus. The Beaumont Coalition is focused on the city with serving the homeless population within the city of Beaumont. The coalition that I'm with actually looks at a regional perspective. And so we work with groups in Jefferson, Orange, and Hardin counties. So it's a little bit different perspective, but still we're all working on the same issue. So I was told that y'all were interested in learning about homelessness. And so I have 3 questions that I'm going to try to answer for y'all today. The first question is, how prevalent is homelessness in Beaumont? The second is, what causes homelessness? And the third is, how do we reduce homelessness? Right? Those are some big questions. I'm going to do my best. So let me start with, how prevalent is homelessness in Beaumont? So every year in January, we gather volunteers together and we train them, and then we send them out into the community to conduct needs assessment surveys with homeless individuals. And so that happens at the end of January. So we just recently completed our 2023 count. And while those numbers are not yet available, we have to go through a process to make sure we did it all right. I do have last year's numbers for the city of Beaumont. And so, let's see. In the city of Beaumont for 2022, there were 30 adults who were in homeless shelters on the day of the count, and there were 21 children in shelters on the day of the count. Unsheltered, which means they were living in places not meant for human habitation, including abandoned buildings, in the parks, in a car, etc., there were 111 individuals in the city of Beaumont. Excuse me. So we know that there are far more than that in the city that are experiencing homelessness. These are just the numbers of what we were able to talk to and conduct these needs assessment surveys. But it gives us a place to start to understand what homelessness might look like, and it gives us a way to compare from one year to the next to see if it's going up or down or how our interventions might be affecting it. So that's the answer to the first question. The second question is, what causes homelessness? And I have a handout. I am a professor at McNeese University, and so I'm all about teaching. Thank you. So I have a handout for y'all. First question is, what causes homelessness, at the top of the page, and you'll see there's a chart on here. And these came from a lot of research that has been done to identify what are those consistent causes of homelessness. And you can see there's a ton of them. Right? And so I think the important thing to look at, did y'all have enough copies? Yes. I have more, yeah. There you go. So the important thing to look at is, at the top we see biopsychosocial risk factors, but under that you see on the left-hand side it says individual, and on the right-hand side it says structural. And that, I think, is the key place to look to get started. Thank you. Because when we talk about homelessness and what leads to homelessness, it's not just about what happens to an individual. It's about the conditions in society that have created a situation where those conditions might happen, but it also gives us a place that we can look for interventions on how to reduce homelessness. So if we look at the individual category, you can see some of the examples are mental illness, their age, their education level, substance abuse, and many, many others. These are all factors that have something to do with an actual individual person and their experiences, positive and negative. If we look at the structural side, we look at things like poverty rates. We look at loss of public benefits. We look at housing cost. Housing cost is tremendous. It's going through the roof. That influences homelessness. We look at discrimination, at low wages. We look at healthcare costs. There are many factors in society that affect if individuals are likely to become homeless. And so I really hope that y'all take a look at this. It's a lot of information. I totally understand that. Take a look at it and think about it. Think about how these different elements influence what happens in our own community. And at the bottom of the page, you can see, how do we build resilience? So resilience is a great word because it means how we bounce back after a crisis. Right? And so with homelessness, when we have any of these situations that we talked about at the top happen, the way we fight back is by having resilience, by having the skills so that we can then recover after whatever that crisis might be. And so if we look at the chart at the bottom, we can see there's 4 different parts. And so there's 4 types of social supports that we can look at that help increase resilience. The first one, if we start on the bottom right, is companionship. And so this is just really who we spend our time with, who we hang out with. You know, who do we call when we're sick? Who do we spend our birthday with? Who do we hang out with on the weekends? that is actually a form of support for us, right? Then if we move to the left, you can see we have instrumental needs or support. Instrumental support just means tangible things, right? So do we have access to clothing? Do we have access to food? Do we have access to shelter? Access to these types of resources are really important in the consideration of homelessness as a social issue. Some examples of places that we might find instrumental support include food banks, churches, soup kitchens, shelters, and clinics. There's many more, but that's just an idea. If we move up to the top, we have informational support. And this is when we know where to turn for help, right? And so my guess is if I asked y'all, where can you go if you need food, right? Probably most of y'all would be able to tell me at least one place in the community where we could turn and ask for help, right? And so that is a form of support. We're able to use that information to make informed decisions, to find resources to help us in our daily life. And so some examples in our community for informational support are 211, which is an information and referral hotline. If y'all don't know about it, make a mental note. If y'all ever need information, you can call 211 on your cell phone, and it'll go to a team of information and referral specialists, and you can tell them what you need, and they will tell you what in the community meets that need. And they'll tell you how to get a hold of them. Really valuable, 211. So that's one example. Another example is the internet, right? How many of y'all Google things when you need to find, right? We all do. And so that's a resource because we know how to look things up. We can turn to our friends. Sometimes we turn to social workers or other professionals. These are all ways that we gather informational support. And then the fourth kind is social emotional support. And this is where we get our self-esteem from. This is really when someone is in our corner, they say, I believe in you, you can do this, right? And so oftentimes that comes from teachers, ministers, friends, and social workers sometimes, and lots of different people in the community. But social emotional is a really important form of support. So if we're looking at these four different types, the two most important are informational and social emotional. Can y'all guess why?
Well, they're like the two most things people depend on. Having self-esteem, having confidence to go on and live day after day, and then knowing where you can find anything that can help you.
Bingo, you should be in my classes. Absolutely. Informational support and social emotional are the most critical because they are empowerment. They are forms of empowerment so that people feel like they possess what they need to get what they need to get the help, to get the support. Exactly. And out of all four of these, the most important is social emotional support. Why? Because it's when we believe in ourselves. If we don't believe in ourselves, then we're not likely to call an organization and say, I need help. Because why? Because we don't feel worthy. But when we feel worthy and we feel like we have the ability to make our life different, we are much more likely to reach out. And so when we're looking at homelessness, these are some of the things to consider. It's not a simple fix. I really wish it was, but it's not. But if we use this kind of information, we can make informed decisions and we can get on the right track. So I think I'm almost out of time. So do y'all have any questions? Yes.
Well, it's not really. Well, I guess it is a question. I just want to say that I really enjoyed your presentation, and I was wondering, like Consuelo had said earlier about the BPD coming to speak to our high schools. Could you come? Because like a lot of I didn't know about any of this till you just said it. So I was like, wonder if you can come speak to our high schools too.
Oh, sure. I love doing this kind of stuff. And I actually have my cards. I'm going to start here. If y'all could just pass them. If y'all have any questions, my phone number is on here. My email is on here. And so feel free to reach out to me. I would love to answer your questions. If y'all have a group that you would like me to share information, I really am all about informed decision making. And so I feel like anytime I can help groups of people know more about homelessness and about all of the factors that go into it, the better, even though it's a really quick presentation. So.
Yes, ma'am. So thank you very much for your presentation. So what would the Regional Planning Committee and the Homeless Coalition like for us as the Youth Council to try and move towards doing? Like what course of action or like policy recommendations do you have for us?
I think right now our recommendation would be to increase awareness about homelessness, because I think we see it on the news all the time, we hear about it on the internet, but we don't necessarily really know much about it. We just know it's an issue. So let's help people understand why it's an issue. How does it happen? How prevalent is it? Those are things that I think really can change how we see and how we respond.
Absolutely. So like if there was like, because the city council that we ultimately report to is going to measure this as an issue in terms of, you know, solutions, right? Is it a personnel issue? Is it funding? That they want some kind of tangible policy option to alleviate the problem. So it like, from your perspective, what is the is it a money thing? Is it like a new avenue of approach we need to take? So like, what's the best solution to the problem that you can come up with?
And I think that is a great question. And the problem is that it's not easy to give a specific answer. You know, we could say throw money at shelters. Okay, that's great. That shelters and houses someone for a day. What happens when they time out of that? Well, then what kind of support services are available? And I mean, it just goes on. And so when I talk to groups who are looking for one specific thing, I say promote youth development programming. Why? Because we know that children who experience homelessness have a higher rate of homelessness as an adult. And we also know, especially for girls who experience homelessness as teens, that their rate, I think, triples as adults because they don't have that self-esteem oftentimes. And youth development programming really strengthens, as y'all can tell from what y'all are doing right now, right? Y'all are empowered. Y'all are valued, we respect what y'all are thinking and saying, and we want to support you. So what happens for those who don't have that experience? You know, I really do advocate for youth development programming. It's a long-term solution, I give you that, but it can be impactful.
So thank you for your presentation. So I had two questions and one will be a follow-up, but my first question is, what do you see the expected rise to be in homelessness? You can give us something maybe in the past decade or so in Beaumont, or something that you guys foresee in the next few years.
So right now, as far as the point in time count numbers, which is really the data that we have to work with, it's staying relatively consistent with the understanding that we haven't been able to get to everybody. We know that there's probably at least double the number of individuals in Beaumont who are experiencing homelessness than what we can count or have counted up until now. And so that's one of the things that my coalition is working on, trying to come up with plans and develop relationships so that we can access that information. Needs assessment information is crucial when we're trying to develop plans, right? And for my group, when we're trying to advocate for services. And so trying to increase and improve our ability to gather that information is a really important thing for us right now.
Okay, thank you. I appreciate that. And then, so, you know, as a youth council, we sort of, we do build off, you know, other ideas that are going on in the community. So I was wondering, are there any major efforts being made by the Homeless Coalition currently to solve homelessness, like at this current moment, or are there any other efforts in the community that you may be aware of? That way, so we get a general understanding of what we're working with.
Sure. So I want to go back to make sure I'm clear that I'm not associated with the Beaumont Homeless Coalition.
Okay.
I attend their meetings usually, but I'm not part of it. I'm not a leader for it. I am with the Southeast Texas Regional Coalition. Okay. And so there is a difference. In my coalition, we much more focus on the network and advocacy for services. And so we do the needs assessment. We connect different programs with each other so they can collaborate for grants and help spread those dollars farther. And so that's really a focus for our program. In the Beaumont Coalition, there may be someone here. I don't know. Is anyone here from the Beaumont Coalition? I don't want to speak out of turn. So for the Beaumont Coalition, if I am right, I believe that they're focusing on increasing shelter access right now, and they also have recently been working with some other place to increase access to health care for homeless individuals, so they're not having to, you know, travel across town. But I know some other place now has health workers sometimes who come in periodically. They're also developing other plans, like the Southeast Texas Food Bank is now coming to some other place to distribute fresh food. And I know that they're working on a lot of collaborations. And so beyond that, I don't want to say too much because I'm not really sure. But I know that those things are in place right now.
I appreciate it. Thank you.
Sure.
Any further questions?
I can answer that question about our Beaumont Homeless Coalition.
Oh, okay.
All right.
Am I done? You want me to sit down?
I do want to get more input from other youth because I think this is a big topic about homelessness. So I want input from other students.
I'm
if
just
possible,
gonna
after
I'm just gonna
Councilman
hit that
Turner.
one answer that you guys asked of, and we have some other place, we have Henry's Place, and we have the Salvation Army. The Salvation Army, the first 3 nights, if I'm not mistaken, is free. Then is it $25 or is it $10?
I think it's 25.
It's 25 after that. So the first three nights they have somewhere for free. But the unfortunate part is after the first 3 nights, it's a $25 fee. The standpoint that we are right now in the city of Beaumont is, in order to suffice the House bill that was filed, that no camping under the freeways, the whole nine, you have to have a destination to bring the homeless to. Right now, the city of Beaumont doesn't currently have an official destination. The problem is you have to put it in a certain area. In every area, each council member is wards. So now the problem is which area would the community be okay with a homeless camp being in? So it's a tough conversation, but the reality is a tough conversation that needs to be had. So I think it'd be good for y'all to kind of identify some areas that you think maybe the city could, buy the land and provide with a homeless destination. And it would be smart to kind of put it close to where all the services are actually provided at. Councilmember Mike Getz leads the Homeless Coalition, and that's what they're working on right now, finding a designated area so he can kind of come to the council and do a presentation on whereabouts. The reason I know we talk a lot and he kind of keep me updated, I'm always at the meetings as well. So I think that's something y'all can help with, looking at areas that you think it would be sufficient to put a homeless camp or shelter at, because when the cops pick up the homeless who may be on the side of the road, they have to bring them somewhere. So I think that's something you guys can help with, suggest the areas.
This is just from a financial standpoint. I would think it'd be better to put them in an area where property tax is low. That way, it'll be easier to buy the land and build and put homeless people there. Plus, usually in those type of areas, you see a increase of homelessness compared to areas where there's higher property tax.
Like similar to San Antonio, ideally they have a designated area where the services are all provided within that area. So I think we're moving in the right direction, but I think you guys can be a big asset in helping us identify the areas, similar to your suggestion, Miriam.
Thank you, Councilman Turner. I'll add another little piece to what he said. In San Antonio, they do have it's like a compound that's almost the size of a town. And they have massive numbers of different programs who are housed within that compound. So there's housing, there's substance abuse counseling, there's health care, there's education, there's all these different things so that it's accessible to the individuals who are staying in that program, which is nationally, they're considered one of the big ones to look up to. They really are. And then also I wanted to follow up that Councilman Turner is absolutely right that when someone is picked up for whatever they're picked up for being homeless, they do have to have somewhere to go to. And I think that's one thing that I want to make sure that I do say also, that when people are removed from, whether it's under the bridge or under the highway or wherever it may be, they're going to go somewhere. They don't disappear. And so it's really more effective if we come up with solutions of where they can go, what kind of services they can receive, versus just assuming, they're going to disappear, because that doesn't happen. So,
Are there do you have okay, let me ask the first one. Are there volunteer or internship opportunities with your coalition?
right now there's not with my group. Maybe in the future, but not just yet. I know Spindletop, who is a mental health provider in the community, has a lot of interns that they work with, and we kind of borrow their interns when we need stuff for special projects. So I'm not really sure who else deals specifically with homelessness, who has internships right now. I know that there are a lot of very small groups who do outreach in the homeless population. Probably 50 or 60 groups in Beaumont alone, but it's like 1 or 2 people who get together and they go do something. But as far as coordinated, I'm not sure of that.
Oh, okay. I just wanted to ask because I don't know if it would help to get more youth involvement? It was just kind of a side thought.
I think one of the concerns, of course, is safety. And I know for many housing-based programs, 18 is the minimum age for legal purposes because of safety issues.
Okay.
So, but that doesn't mean it can't happen.
Is this like a job for y'all, or is y'all volunteers? And also, I see that you're a regional, so you're in our region. Like, do y'all go through Beaumont? Like, which cities are y'all?
Right. So my coalition is the Southeast Texas Coalition for the Homeless, and we cover Jefferson, Orange, and Hardin counties. So we're kind of all over here in Southeast Texas. Our organization does not have like a full-time staff of people. My organization is made up of people from other organizations who are interested in homelessness issues. So lots of churches, lots of mental health programs, hospitals, school systems, anyone really who has a vested interest in homelessness on a regional level kind of comes to our group. We have about 184 members right now, which is pretty substantial. And they really represent all the different parts geographically, but also different elements of our society, different places, which is really pretty neat. So, yeah, did that answer your question?
Any further questions?
Well, I wanted to get more input from everyone, more specifically because I think this was one of the discussions where unanimously everybody wanted to be involved in some form of the homeless coalition. I know Beaumont has one, and you guys do it from a regional standpoint, but there was a lot of interest here, and so I just kind of wanted them to maybe they have an opportunity to speak to someone from a regional standpoint, and maybe if they have questions, so I'll give it back.
I did have a question about homelessness. And so I think we all know that like every homeless person has their own story. Some people, whether it's from personal problems, economic issues, and so I just want to know what statistics are there? Any statistics? Not mainly like you already talked about the statistics on how many like estimated homeless people there are, but like on what their situation is like. How many of those are employed but they don't have enough money to get a living wage? How many homeless people right now are children? And are they in schools right now? Are they having difficulty in school? So I just want to know about that.
Those are great questions. And so just unfortunately, like a lot of the other answers, I have a part of an answer, but not the full answer. So let me start with the schools. So in the public school setting, there is a program called McKinney-Vento. It's a law that made it mandatory for schools to provide specific services for children experiencing homelessness. And so I'm actually working right now with the Region 5, which covers all of Southeast Texas. I'm working with the Region 5 McKinney-Vento team, and we're trying to come up with some strategies so that we can engage those families more and to capture their information. And so you asked about the numbers, the statistics. Unfortunately, I don't have a lot of count. What was it? I said it a second ago. For the children who are in Beaumont who were homeless on the day, it was 21. We know there's at least 100 because of what the schools are working with. And so we're trying to find a way that we can partner with the schools so that we can get that information. Oftentimes kids who are experiencing homelessness have parents who are, you really kind of hit the nail on the head, their parents are working, but they just don't have enough. And so we're trying to target that population to try to capture that information because needs assessment, I know I talked about it a second ago, but if we can capture needs assessment information, we can advocate more effectively for the things that are specifically an issue for that population.
And another question I had was, so for your part of Southeast Texas Regional Planning Commission, so is your job more of like raising awareness for it, or do you guys also collect items like clothes and stuff?
So the group that I work with is sponsored by the Regional Planning Commission. Our group is called the Southeast Texas Coalition for the Homeless. SETCH is SETCH is what we call it. So SETCH is so it's the network of service providers. We do collect items once a year in preparation for the point in time count because we give out massive amounts of stuff on point in time day so that people will talk to us, I mean, quite honestly. And so we collect items getting ready for that, but throughout the year, we usually refer people in Beaumont to some other place. Someone go.
Well, it's not it's not really a question, but like a statement to we do need to have let kids be more aware of the homeless population and how we can help them, because I mean many churches that I know, my church specifically, we have a group where we help people in need, people who can't pay their bills, people who need food, clothes, and anything, but we don't have a lot of participation. And by like having the youth more involved, letting them know what's going on here in Beaumont, we could help them like get involved in those groups and at churches, schools, youth groups, stuff like that. Because I mean, if more kids get involved, more participants, there'll be more stuff for us to hand out and things like that. And at my school, at least, there's a program called Communities in Schools, where they do help children in need who probably are having difficult financial problems at home, who need extra food or who clothes. And I think by just us bringing aware to the kids to not be ashamed to come forward and tell them that they're having problems, and yeah, just to make it more aware at schools.
Maybe like a community resource fair for teens might be something y'all could talk about. That might be helpful for exactly that issue. Good idea.
Okay, I had two questions. I had a question in one. The first question was, in your region, do you know like the youngest kid that was on their own that you all had to deal with?
The youngest child. If I remember correctly, at least for this year, we didn't have any children under the age of 18 who were on their own. In previous years, we have. I think in 2022, we had 2 or 3 who were between the age of 17 and 21, maybe around that. And that's kind of clumped into a category of young adult, because you're kind of transitioning from child to adult. As far as children under the age of 17, I don't remember anyone doing surveys with that population this year.
And the other one, I know he was talking about for schools, like, you know, how there's kids that are homeless in schools. I know whenever we went to the school tours, the representative from the school tours is here, they had like a lot of stuff, and I really liked it. Was just a whole bunch of stuff they were giving out to teachers, and I was like wondering if maybe, I don't know if y'all do it, but like y'all partner with school tours and try to give out some school supplies to the students, 'cause they had a lot of stuff, a lot of people doing it. And it was like we packed them all, and it was a good experience. And maybe we could get service hours, we could pack boxes for the homeless kids and give them out.
That would definitely be a project we could all look into. And yeah, we partner with the Southeast Texas Food Bank, who sponsors school tools. For the pit count, they donated a pallet of water bottles, like I think it was Aquafina water for us to give out, and then I don't know, 300 or 400 bags of shelf-stable food that we were able to hand out on pit day to individuals that we were surveying. So yeah, we definitely partner with them. We love them.
Yeah. So along with that, I was gonna ask if you're willing to get with us, and maybe since you said there's not really any like community service opportunities or much like that, maybe we could come up with one, like holding drives at our school, and like the donations that we get,
Sure.
you know, hand them out and stuff.
Definitely. You have my name, my number, and my email now, so feel free to let me know if y'all want to continue having a conversation. I love brainstorming stuff. It's fun.
I'm interested in having you present to Beaumont schools. So me personally, I come from Beaumont Early College High School. So I am in contact with you, thankfully, and I am very pleased to have your contact information. And is it possible for you to come make a presentation at the high school?
Sure. I'll talk anywhere if they
I
listen.
encourage everyone from their school to try and come out to Janelle and talk about that, because that'll be the best way to kind of introduce our age group with a mode of how homelessness works and how they can also be active in our community. Thank you.
You're welcome. Yes.
So I wanted to ask about the disabled homeless population, because I feel like in our society, disabled people are sadly they don't have the opportunities that most people have, including homeless people. And so I do know that there are government programs that are supposed to help disabled people, homeless people. And so just is your organization working on making sure that these disabled homeless people are signing up for grants and funds, anything that can help them?
So we can't make sure that they're signing up for it, but we can advocate to make sure that there's organizations who are providing that service. And so, which we do. We know that in this area, there are quite a few programs that are making sure that veterans have access to health care and housing services. And so we definitely are working with them to increase awareness, as I'm doing here. And so that's a major need. One of the other things that we're doing is partnering with some of the healthcare providers to help them be aware of what the issue is and kind of the prevalence, just really what I was just talking about with y'all, so that they're aware, because very often professionals don't know all of the details. They know homelessness is bad, there's a lot of it, but what do you do with that? And so we help to inform them.
Another question I had was about the security of where these homeless people are staying. So I think me and like personally most other people who are blessed enough to stay in a house, we always make sure our doors are locked, our windows are closed, so we can sleep comfortably. But these homeless people, as you said, are on the streets. Shelter is not there. So like, is there any partnering going on like with different like the police or anything to make sure that where these homeless people are staying, that they stay safe, protected? Or
that is a great question that I cannot answer. Each of the outreach programs would have to contact them individually to make arrangements, and I just don't have that information. Sorry.
Any further questions?
I'm sorry, I know we're asking a lot of questions, but I just had one. Do y'all have do y'all deal with homeless people who have pets?
I know that there is at least one outreach program in Beaumont that specifically focuses on pets, and she works with vets in the area to make sure that the animals are getting care and helps provide for the special food that they might need.
Okay, because my school, a club at our school, Beta Club, we're currently doing a pet drive to donate pet food to food nutrition services for seniors, and maybe like we could do something with y'all to try to donate pet food, because whenever we had a speaker at another organization club I'm in, she said that the seniors give their food to their pets because the pets don't have, so maybe like the homeless people might give their food to their pets, so maybe we can try to come up with something as a council about pet food and donating pets.
Yeah, and that would be great. You have my contact info. Send me an email and let me know that you're needing the information for the pet person, and I'll connect you with her so that you can work something up. But you're absolutely right. If they have a pet, they often will give up their food for themselves so that their pet can be fed.
Any further questions? All right, ma'am, thank you very much for your presentation, and we'll be in contact with you very soon.
Sounds great.
Thank you. Okay, so we're going to be moving to item number 5, discussion on upcoming community events.
I'll open this up to members of the public first before I'll start. If anybody in the audience knows of an event that you want to communicate to our youth council, I'll open up the floor for you to come up and introduce that event. So the discussion item is just to talk about upcoming community events, and we do have community members, so I want to open it up to community members. State your name and company, and then what the event is.
Okay, good afternoon. My name is Mary Simon.
Oh, turn that mic on. I'm sorry.
Children's program.
A little switch, gray switch, silver. Yeah.
Hello?
Yeah.
Okay. Good afternoon. My name is Mary Simon, and I am the Children's Program Manager with Southeast Texas Food Bank. School Tools, I'm responsible for providing services to teachers, school supplies. As one of my favorite volunteers to come to help out. We have School Tools, volunteer opportunities Monday through Thursday from 2:30 to 5:30, and also every second Saturday. Southeast Texas Food Bank have a variety of programs, a variety of volunteer opportunities that would address a lot of the issues that you're talking about today, and in particular, when you're talking about providing services to families, homeless, we have so many programs that address those issues, and we are in partnership with many, many entities within the communities. So But anytime you're looking for volunteer opportunities, you can go to our website, Southeast Texas Food Bank. Click to the right, there's a volunteer icon. Click on that. If you don't have a profile, you complete a quick profile, and then it would list the volunteer opportunities. We service 8 counties, and we're out and about providing services to many, many, many families. So thank y'all for what you're doing. I'm really impressed and just really moved. As a matter of fact, I got permission to miss work today to be here today to listen to what you're doing, and certainly to encourage and support you in what you're doing. I did have a gift for y'all. I didn't know how many, so when you have your next meeting, I'll be here to present you with a token or something that you can take on your next trip.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Are there, okay, Ms. Douglas.
Good afternoon, everybody. Good evening. Chantel Douglas. I don't know if it's on or not, but as a spokesperson for Beaumont United High School and someone who's partnering with Beaumont ISD, there is a college career and military readiness fair that is being hosted by BISD. It's coming up this month on Saturday, February 25th, I believe is the exact date. Yes, February 25th. And it's just an opportunity for students as well as parents and family, entirely the Beaumont community, to just come out and learn about the career and military opportunities. I think it may also be a great opportunity for you all to showcase who you are and what you're doing for the community. And I know the contact person for that would be Miss Eva LeBlanc, if you'd like to take part in that. I know some of you have signed up to volunteer in a different capacity there, so just keep that in mind, because that's another opportunity where I think the Youth Advisory Council will really make a great impression. Okay?
Any more members from the public want to discuss any community events?
Yes, this upcoming Saturday, I know y'all been talking about community cleanups. There'll be one at South Park Neighborhood Association. That'll be on Highland Avenue. It'll be at the Church Harvest for Lost Souls. I will actually be there myself, collecting trash. We'll supply gloves, bags, but we're going to clean up the whole Highland Avenue and other areas around that. We'll have a dump truck coming behind us, and we're going to have a breakfast, a community breakfast. There's going to be a lot of Lamar University students there, as well as other community members. So y'all are more than welcome to join me if you want to.
Can you send me that information so I can post it to the public?
Yes, ma'am. I'll send it to you so you can get on the page. The next one is, I just want to remind y'all that Mural Fest, it'll be March 2nd through the 5th. And I think you guys will have the opportunity to put input if it's a certain kind of mural or something that you want to see in Beaumont, even the art boxes. I kind of want to challenge y'all to reach out to some of your students who you know are good at art. We supply the paint for those art boxes, so they can paint those art boxes free of charge. So I want to encourage y'all to get some students who are real good at art to participate during Mural Fest. And they will have a student wall as well as the art boxes that'll be available to paint. And lastly, Mardi Gras. You guys know Mardi Gras is next weekend. If any of the youth council would like to ride a float with the city council, y'all let me know a head count, and I'll see if I can get it approved for y'all to ride with us, okay? All right.
I'd also like to address, in our previous meeting, we talked about Beautification Beaumont. We were supposed to discuss a date for that.
The committee has yet to be organized. I'm still missing one person's contact information that volunteered for it, so I haven't organized and collaborated. But I was thinking during spring break, because that's when we're most free. Brooklyn, you're on the committee.
Oh, you might forget.
you and Saad.
Spring break is fine, but do we all have the same spring break?
Yes, we're all with BISD. So
Omni's not with BISD.
He's not?
You guys can discuss logistics after the meeting, maybe in y'all meeting. You don't have to decide right now, so I don't want to force you guys into some type of decision. But in the future, whenever y'all are planning, just keep that in mind.
Okay, so if there are any other members of the community that would like to share anything, Any opportunities they'd like the youth council to be present at? Now is your time.
Pull that mic down and turn it on. It's kind of high.
Good afternoon. My name is Michelle Melanson. I'm a volunteer with the Southeast Texas Food Bank. I'm also a volunteer with RSVP, and I'm also a ambassador with BISD. It's wonderful to see what is going on here. Really wonderful. Each of you are representing the city very, very well. And it's nice to see something of this magnitude here in Beaumont. I had a question for the lady for the homeless. Is there a certain reason why the count is only done once a year?
Yeah, you can come address the podium.
If that's okay.
Sure. Excuse me. So the point in time count is conducted once a year by mandate by HUD, which is the U.S. Department of Housing and Urban Development, who's in charge of housing nationwide. And so they mandate that for one 24-hour period in January of each year, that all the communities across the country are counting on that same day. Or in close proximity. So on Pit Day, which this year was Thursday, January 26th here in Beaumont, most of the communities in Texas were counting on that specific day so that there's not duplication. And I think that's really what they're trying to avoid, is the duplication of someone being counted, here in Beaumont, and then we do a count in Port Arthur the next week, and now they're in Port Arthur, so now they're counted twice. Yeah.
Thank you.
Sure. And I'll tell you that 24 hours is super busy because we're out there with volunteers. I think we had about 84 volunteers this year out scouring the community, doing surveys all day.
Thank you.
Sure.
And I just want to say good luck to all your endeavors and what you do, and thank you.
Okay, so before we move on, I had wanted to talk about at the Youth Leadership Beaumont event on Tuesday, a lot of the feedback from the students in that program as far as problems that they felt youth experienced were almost all of them were geared towards education. So several of us have come up with the idea that our next speaker for the February 22nd meeting that we'll schedule later on in the agenda should, if it was possible, to ask the superintendent, Dr. Shannon Allen, to come have a brief Q&A period with us for the next meeting. We think that'd be highly informative to the youth in Beaumont. So we can consider that in the voting agenda. We can add an item there. Okay, so moving on to agenda item number 6, presentation on the future of the Youth Council. Mr. Haynes.
Yeah, I was just going to present with you guys with a little bit of a flyer, and then I'll talk about it briefly. This is something that will be emailed to you, and I want to ask your feedback on this document. But I do want to say this. You guys are getting a lot of information around events and opportunities to serve, and, it's impossible for you yourself to do all of that. Our goal is that you guys are leaders, you're youth council members, and so you're to take this information and bring it to your campus. So there are students on your campus that have free time, that are not involved, that could be involved in their own things, and our goal is that you will take this information, your influence and opportunity to pass the information on to let others come to these events that are being discussed here, as well as yourself. If you can make it, please stay involved, but you do have friends at your school who are not involved in certain things. And so this is a great opportunity for you to meet new students because it gives you an excuse to talk to people, but also advertise these kind of events. So I'll move to this, what you see on the screen. This was taken from that conference. I just kind of came up with an idea. It's very similar to something that the city of Beaumont will be doing. We'll have our own, as I scroll up here, it says Youth Advisory Council. As I continue to scroll, this is the 2023-24 legislative program agenda. The idea behind this is that most cities have a special day where they go to the Capitol in Austin and they speak to their legislators about future policies or guidelines or things that they want to see in bills or laws that are passed in the state of Texas. And so I haven't seen one where it's developed just for youth. And so that's kind of what I'm going to submit to you guys that we can continue dialogue around is, what are these topics that we could talk about, that we could pass on? And this may be a document that only goes to city council. And so this is something that, when city council develops their parks in the future, that they have in mind your ideas around parks. And so the idea for this is to be sort of the principles and guidelines that the youth council, which you guys represent all schools involved, what students want out of life in Beaumont. And so I'm, as I continue to scroll down here, I have it in different sections. Obviously, empowering youth, public safety, parks and recreation, promoting youth success, creating joint initiatives, economic development opportunities for youth. And so I'm just going through an abbreviated version of this. This will be emailed to you. But the idea is that you are now going to start thinking like a legislator, whether that you want to call that a senator, a congressman, president, however you want to look at that. That's what you are for your campus. And so I want you to kind of be looking at these topics, going back to your students at your school and getting feedback and finding out if there's some commonality and bringing it back to the youth council. So therefore we can develop our own legislative agenda. This can be taken to Austin or it can stay here in Beaumont. Either way, I think this would be a step of innovation, an idea that hasn't been done before. I looked around, I didn't really see a legislative agenda for youth, but I know everything is included around youth and public safety. And when we have a crisis, we're talking about our youth and a future generation that is coming. So this is an opportunity for us to come up with a document, you guys specifically to dig into this, go back to your campuses and add to this document or take away from this document. So I'll email this out to everybody here today. But I did want to get your feedback if you thought that was a good idea, if you think it's a bad idea, if you have any questions, put it that way.
I like the idea. So are you saying that we're going to propose this to Austin?
I think, one, we always want to start local. I think this could be proposed to our local leaders. You want to come up? Yeah.
So instead of saying this at the end of the meeting, I'm going to say it now since we're currently talking about it. So the city council is currently putting together a legislative agenda for the city of Beaumont. We have something called Golden Triangle Days where city officials, we go to Austin and we advocate on the things that we want in Beaumont, Texas. Right now, this is the biggest surplus of funding that we've ever seen Texas receive. So it'll be a good opportunity for you guys to kind of put together something whereas I can get you guys input in on our legislative agenda for the city of Beaumont. I think this is huge. You have never seen youth put together a legislative agenda. So I'm pushing y'all, if possible, Sam, y'all can get it together. Let's try to get some initiative that y'all will want to see so I can go in, identify some funding and try to get it back for Beaumont. But I want it from y'all's perspective because you guys know what the youth want better than we do. So we want to kind of charge you guys for doing that. We're going to Austin on February 27th, 28th, and 29th. So we probably got about a week and a half, maybe 2 weeks to see what we can put together. And if we can't get everything, that's fine. Maybe y'all can focus on one or two things that we can get done. All right? So this is an opportunity. It'll be specifically for elected officials from the Golden Triangle. So your city council will go. Your county commissioners, your county judge will go. All your elected officials, this is our opportunity to go to Austin. In the past, we just go and meet with them. But this year, we're going with a legislative agenda saying this is what we want to see in Beaumont. And this is a part of what the new council wants to do. So this is an opportunity for y'all to have input on what we go for in Beaumont. So, Miles, this is a great job, man. I think you really killed this. I appreciate it.
Yeah, definitely. So I just want to bring this up. These topics that you see right here on that screen, these are things you already talked about. So I just basically use previous conversations, dialogue that I've had with you guys. So that the categories are already broken down based on feedback that I got from this council, the conversation I had with junior leadership group, just different things. So there was some commonality in all of the conversations. So I kind of put it in a category. What you want to do is look at the subject of public safety and recommend something, right? Or you may like what the recommendation is in that little paragraph, and you can kind of go with that. But it's just, I kind of put a template out there already. So you're just looking at the subject matter, the green box, and you're looking to come up with a bullet point, an item that you're interested in or concerned about. And y'all have more questions, feel free to ask them.
So to my understanding, you want this before their trip to like get it to them?
In my mind, we present this for the next meeting. So in my mind, we're going local first. Now, if you finish it in a timely manner before we go to Austin, yeah, we'll keep this in a bag because, I don't know how many youth group or how many cities will walk up and say, hey, the youth in our community want X. I don't think that's really happening. So it shouldn't take that long. You're basically just talking about what you want to see in your city. We take that information and we just create a sentence that makes sense regarding legislation. So you don't have to do that hard work. You're just telling us what your concern is based on this category, and we'll take that and kind of format it in a way that's kind of like a brochure.
Is multiple categories okay, or just
Yeah,
one specific?
you can start with the categories you see on the screen in green, but if you have something that's not listed, please put it up. Please send that over.
And I can have a written summation ready for the city council, prepared for our next meeting on the 22nd for you guys to vote and approve or not. And so feel free to reach out to me with any recommendations of things that you'd like on there. I'm happy to consult with all of you for that. So that'll most definitely be an agenda item on the next meeting, and I look forward to working with you all on it.
So I'll restate it. Our goal with this is that it makes it to city council. Now, if we finish in a timely manner, which I don't see why we shouldn't, it'd just be basically y'all giving feedback. This could make it to Austin. I think that's an excellent opportunity to do something like that, but definitely not trying to push it. But I am. Continue.
Excuse me, sorry. My bad. So I guess this will be emailed to us, and then
Yeah, I'll email this to you guys, and then you can kind of go through every, you can send a separate email just saying, hey, I like public safety, and, I think teen safety. Y'all kind of talked about scooters. So there are the cities in the state of Texas who have scooters or motorbikes. Y'all can kind of highlight that. I think you guys talked about in the first presentation about police officers in the shortage. So you're just talking about the things that you've already been discussing. So you're taking that and you're putting it in a sentence format. So all of you guys in some form of fashion have had some conversation about the change you want to see and the things that are in the way of that change. And so that's essentially what you're communicating, but I just tried to give you a category based on all the conversation I heard.
Okay, so is this something that we email our our bullet points to you or to Sam?
I'm happy to take everybody's recommendations for that, so I can put together a proposal for Miles and for the next meeting.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions?
Any further questions? All right, so we're going to move to our voting agenda, item number 7. So we're going to vote to approve the next meeting date and time. We had talked about this being, so February 23rd didn't work for a lot of the, I think it was from Beaumont United, because y'all had an event that day. So we're wanting to move that to the day before, February 22nd. Are there any conflicts with that, February 22nd? Okay, so is there a day that would work for you or that like better? The 21st? I mean, we could move it earlier.
If it's on a Tuesday, we'll probably have to start it later because city council starts at 1:30. You never know how long that can go. So I would probably recommend a late start, 5:30, 6 o'clock on a Tuesday. I don't know if that is a possibility for everybody.
What about a Wednesday?
The Wednesday was the original, that was the date that didn't work, the 23rd.
Some of you guys may have church or things like that.
I recommend doing Tuesday from 6 to 8, like
Okay.
we previously once did, 6 to 8.
Okay.
Is Tuesday good for everybody? So far, no. Okay.
Okay, what about Friday?
Uh,
Is that Friday's not okay?
I didn't say it was okay. Y'all have the floor.
The 24th?
Yes. Wait. Thursday the 24th?
Friday. That's Friday.
I'm not free.
Yeah, let's stick with the 21st. I'll just give a
The
little
21st.
direction on
Okay,
this.
so 6 to 8 on the 21st.
Yeah, stick within a week. I think that'll be much easier.
Very nice. Okay,
you can
so
make it or you can't. You can't make it on Tuesday. So who can't make it on the 22nd if we had it on the Wednesday? Show of hands. One hand. Who can't? Two. Okay. Who can't make it on the 21st? Who can make it on a Monday? That's the 20th. That's a Monday. Who can't? Is Monday a scheduling conflict? Okay. What time well, let me do this. You guys open this up to discuss to find that out, and then once you find it out among this group, let me know so y'all can start the discussion to find it out. So
I think we should have it on. I think we should have it on the Tuesday because after the city council meeting, everybody is already here. Like we've only been seeing Mr. AJ a lot. We have seen the other councilmen, but we haven't seen them as much as we've seen him. So if everyone's already here, we can voice our opinions better.
very nice. So Tuesday 6 to 8. Thoughts on that?
I'm fine with it.
And okay, I'm sorry, show of hands again. Who is not going to be able to make that? Okay. So but both of y'all and then that's 3. Okay. There's 3 for Tuesday.
Could we do Wednesday the 22nd and then Jonathan just miss and pass his vote on to another member like in the binders we received? Is that an option, or was this something we want
That's
everyone to
definitely
be
an option. Definitely. So does anyone else have any scheduling conflict on the Wednesday?
Can we do
I'm
that from
not-
6 to 8? Can we do that one from 6 to 8? Because I work during that day. But I'll be out by 6.
Wednesday 6 to 8. Okay.
6 to 8?
6 to 8.
I'm cool with Wednesday, but is there not any day of the week in which everyone would be available, like a Friday, a Thursday? You know?
It's a hard
Oh.
week. I mean, so I think
All right.
it's my opinion that
Does-
Wednesday is probably our best bet to get the highest attendance.
All right.
All right, so we're going to move to vote on that to change the next meeting to Wednesday. That's February 22nd. Wait, what's the day? Yeah. Wednesday the 22nd at 6 to 8.
Aye.
Aye.
All opposed?
All right, and then I consulted Miles. We're going to add in here to approve the next meeting speaker for us to ask that Dr. Shannon Allen from BISD come to present, or just at least talk to us.
Can we also try to get the school board members as well with Dr. Allen?
Most definitely. So, like, as far as like with respect to time, we want to have the most organized, coherent presentation possible given the amount of time we have. So, like, would you want to hear from all of them or just the superintendent?
Just the superintendent is fine, but just having them there and he also
Definitely.
hearing what we have to say is better.
What if they won't be able to come? They also held meetings to the public where we could all as a group go and try to voice our opinions as well.
I mean, within school board meetings, there's a 3-minute public comment section if you register 2 days in advance that you can voice your opinions, but it's kind of hard for us as a large group to make that happen. But like any individual was more than welcome to go do that on their own. But I think like as far as us receiving any kind of cohesive feedback from BISD, this is definitely the best avenue to go about doing that.
I don't know about the other schools, but our schools, we have a group. I think it's 2 people that go to the superintendent meetings and sit and listen on that, so I could get some feedback from them.
Okay, that is good. So just to vote on designating Dr. Allen as the next meeting's desired speaker.
Okay.
Also, if you can't get Dr. Allen, I would encourage you to probably invite some of the board members. Maybe it'd be
Definitely.
their schedules may be more flexible as a possibility. And I would choose one or the other. I wouldn't choose both.
So we
Or
could
choose one, and if Dr. Allen is not available, then the backup plan was to reach out to one or two. I think is a good idea.
Okay, so
Very good.
Comment.
So guys, plan A, Dr. Allen. Plan B, I would suggest the school board president, Robert Dunn. Okay, I think that's a good solution to the problem. So, Dr. Allen, give a 3-day window to get you guys a response. Then you reach to your plan B, which would be Robert Dunn, the school board president, and you work your way down by availability.
Very good idea. So we're gonna move to vote on this.
So all in favor, say aye.
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 Okay.
Aye.
And any opposed? No. Okay. So we're good.
All right, we'll make the arrangements for that as soon as possible. Okay, so there are no more voting items, so we're going to move on to public comment. If there's any members of the public that have a 3-minute or under comment they'd like to make to the Youth Advisory Council, now is the time for that.
I'll go first. Albert Turner, 3170 Yasmin Dior, Beaumont, Texas, 77705. Good job, Mayor. You're getting way more confident. You're doing a great job. I really like it, man. I'm proud of you, okay? I just want to let you know that. I want to say it in front of everybody. You were hesitant at first, but now you're taking over. Good job. Okay,
Thank
I'm
you.
proud of all of y'all, okay? And I'm also seeing people who weren't talking the first meeting. Not all of y'all are talking, and I love it. I love it. 3 things. Y'all talked about internship program. So what I want to challenge y'all with, and this could be in the future, but I think as this group, you guys should put together the interns that you want to see youth have in the city of Beaumont. So instead of us as adults putting together the list of jobs and internship opportunities, I want to challenge y'all to put that list together, because what we may think may be a good intern, y'all may not. So that's the purpose of this council, to let you guys lead what's best for the youth. So that's one thing I kind of want to look at y'all discussing in the future. Another thing is, I think y'all were all in favor of something to the magnitude of a homeless supply drive and a homeless reduction plan. I think that could be another thing you guys kind of discuss just from listening to y'all. I'm just trying to think of ways to kind of push y'all to keep going. And lastly, Bird Scooters, y'all did a good job. Y'all kind of firmed up what y'all wanted. Now all I need from y'all list, and to sum it all up, is the streets that you do not want to see them on. So I think it's been very productive. Y'all identifying problems, and we're coming with solutions. And I'm very excited to see what legislative ideas y'all have, okay? And I promise y'all I'm going to push real hard to get them done, all right? You got my word.
Before you leave, question about the internships. What do you mean, like within certain companies?
Yes,
What
ma'am.
fields?
So the city of Beaumont right now, we're putting together a comprehensive plan with the Chamber of Commerce. So the funding probably be voted on more than likely this Tuesday, and I'm more than confident it will pass. So with that being said, one thing that I brought up was lack of youth engagement, meaning we have the youth council, but now what's the next step? When you guys are juniors, seniors, what are we showing you guys that Beaumont has to offer to give you the opportunity to want to stay here? When I first met with y'all, one of the main things I heard the complaints were we didn't know about nursing, we didn't know about the doctors, we didn't know about all the opportunities Beaumont have. So if y'all want to intern at certain law offices, y'all want to intern at the BSD admin building, if y'all want to intern on the 2nd, 3rd floor at City Hall with the city manager, I need to know what exactly do you guys want so I can work with the chamber to make those connections to get those internships available. So I think our youth deserve a summer internship program, but I want you guys to tell me what jobs do you all want to intern and learn about, okay?
Thank you very much. Are there any other public comments? Thank you.
All right, good evening. First, I'd like to say that I'm so very proud of each of you. I've kind of been here from the beginning and I have seen so much growth, and I'm just very, very proud. Now, I just want to reiterate what Chantel Douglas mentioned about the CCMR fair when she mentioned that that might be a good opportunity for you guys to get out there, maybe pub yourselves, maybe contact Eva LeBlanc and perhaps maybe secure a table. I'm not quite sure, but you guys can go there and talk to the community about what you're doing here. Also, with regards to speaking at the board meeting, I do think that would be a good idea for one of you guys to sign up to let the community know, because they too live stream, so they have a pretty broad audience. So I think that would also get the word out with what you're doing. And there's an organization that I'm a part of, and we have participated in what's called Meals on Wheels. Some of you guys know about that. You have to be 18 years old, but any of your 18-year-old friends with a vehicle, perhaps they can also sign up to go and assist our community, because they are always looking for volunteers to help. So maybe you can take that idea back to your campuses, to your campus organizations. Okay. I'm Charisma Papillon. Thank you.
Any further public comment? All right, so we're going to move on to council members' comment. Does anybody have anything they'd like to say?
I would encourage everybody to have some type of comment. You know, what you got from the meeting. You know, just start with Yash, and you can kind of go around. Do it that way. I think that would be good for community feedback.
So this is kind of going back to our summit that we went on. A lot of the councils over there, they had bonding activities. And so I was thinking we should all do a bonding activity to kind of get to know each other better. Because I still sense there's some like, oh, I don't know you, you know. So an example a lot of them did was like an escape room, and I think we do have one in Beaumont. So,
yeah. I guess mine's also comes from what I learned from the conference, was that we should probably look at something to kind of brand us. I feel like we use a lot of branding from the city of Beaumont, which is great. It helps to keep us recognized. But in the branding and marketing workshop, we learned about the importance of having your own logo and your own slogan, something that the community knows and recognizes you by. So maybe there's something we can do with the Beaumont City logo to kind of adjust that to be a little bit more youth-based, just so that when it's seen, it's automatically known, oh, that's the Youth City Council.
I'm currently actually working to brand us with Alex. He's not present today, I believe, but we are under the process of branding, like a specific brand for us that still ties back that we are Beaumont.
I wanted to add on that, saying that maybe we could get, I don't know how y'all feel about getting shirts made to wear to the meetings, and when we go, like I know you mentioned shirts when we going out of town and stuff, but like shirts when we go volunteer somewhere so they know who we are and what, you know.
Well, I don't really have much to say. I just want to say that we're all doing good and we're all growing. And I just had one question for AJ. I just for the day for the cleanup. What time does it start? Did you say?
9 a.m.
Okay.
It actually starts at 10:30. The breakfast starts at 9, and the cleanup starts at 10.
Okay. Thanks.
Something that I got from this meeting is that I'm gonna start talking to more of our students at my school and see what opinions they have, what changes they want to see in the city of Beaumont, and how us as the youth council, how we can help them achieve that goal.
Yeah, and just to add on to that, I also am planning on going back to my school and talking to my classmates about what they want and what problems they see in Beaumont, and mainly, as Councilman Turner said, solutions, and see what solutions they have to problems there.
I'd also like to make a public statement. Sam actually told us about the Bring a Friend message on our group me, and as you can see, we have some students here who have joined us from this Bring a Friend kind of small little thing. And I'd like to encourage you who have attended to also bring a friend the next time you attend our meeting, and just kind of post our stuff out there. Word of mouth is the biggest way to get notice. So if you would do that, I would really appreciate it, because you guys are as much important as we are, because we are here to represent you.
So I know how we're planning to have the superintendent come talk to us. And last night I was scrolling through Facebook and came across the BISD 411 page, and we could get a lot of, or that's where we could read about of like what is really needed to ask questions for the superintendent.
I just had a question. I know that the next meeting is gonna be in Austin. Is that Austin? Where?
The next conference we have planned is in Washington
Oh, that's the one from the 27th to the 28th?
in March.
March. Oh, that's March? Oh, never mind. I thought that was this month. I'm sorry. Oh.
So you're referring to the trip in Austin is the 27, 28, 29. We hadn't opened it up to the youth. That was more so for city staff, our department heads, our city council, and so they'll be representing the city of Beaumont.
Okay. I also had to say one more thing. So I'm in this organization called WildSet, and right now we're partnering with like different high schools. We're partnering with early college. Right? Yeah, it's early college, and what we're doing is we're trying to grab donations like detergents and soaps and stuff, because Peach MacArthur, it's a very big school, especially right now that it's combined with the middle school as well. They've noticed that a lot of students come to school, saying this with a lot of respect, they come to school, maybe not always smelling the best, or they'll come back with like repeated clothes that you could tell have not been washed. So right now we're trying to get a washer and dryer put into that school. That way, maybe over the summer, or a lot of the high schoolers can go and help out with like taking turns and helping them wash loads and stuff, because a lot of them are very unfortunate and stuff, or less fortunate. So if any of y'all would like to also like spread the word to y'all schools about, making donations, like right now we're taking like soaps or like socks and stuff, just for them to have something to also wear while their clothes are getting washed.
I just want to go back to the shirts that you talked about. I wasn't thinking regular t-shirts. I was thinking more polo shirts. It gives kind of like a professional vibe. Also something that I got from the workshop. That's pretty much it.
I'd like to thank our speakers. The officer from the police department is no longer here. I want to thank her for her time and her insightful presentation about fentanyl. And then I want to thank you, Ms. White, for your presentation over homelessness. We will definitely move forward in acting in some of the areas that you highlighted for us. So in between now and our next meeting, my top priorities are going to be, of course, reaching out to the school district about having either the president of the board or the superintendent come talk to us. And then kind of putting some of the goals that we've outlined today into policy format for us to vote on or recommend to the city council for the next meeting, and then to condense all that into a document that we can approve next meeting to send to the city council so they can have a youth component for their Golden Triangle Days.
So one question I have is, who is contacting Dr. Allen and or Mr. Dunn? Would that be me, or would you contact them?
You probably in conjunction with Miles, but we have to work the details out of that.
Okay.
All right. Well, Miles, if you have any comment?
Do you have any comment? I'll go last. Okay. As far as just so clarity for streaming purposes, all you guys' action items, make sure you bring them to me so I can help assist you in that process as far as passing the message on. Now, if it's things you need to bring to your school, it's on you to take those messages and pass them on to your students. We didn't really discuss it that much, but I did want to find out who had interest in going to the Washington, D.C. trip. I know everybody's probably going to try to raise their hands, but obviously we'll have to look at that from a financial standpoint. But I did want to get an interest, those dates. Who's not available is the biggest question I want to ask first. It's March the 26th to the 28th. I think you may have to leave on the 25th.
Do you know the weekdays? Is it like Monday?
I think that's a weekend, if I'm not mistaken. March 25th through the 28th.
Saturday to like Tuesday.
Yeah. I just want to poll everybody and see who could make it. That's the first question, and then I can handle the details individually to your campuses later. Who can't? Who can't make? Who is not available? Who is available? Okay.
Me also.
See. Is your hand up, Orlette? Okay, you're not. I'm just saying who is available. I'll just start with that. We'll deal with. I'm not saying everybody can go, but I just want to know who is available. That's the starting point. Okay, cool. I got my answer on that. I'll go back to my first point. Send me all your action items that we have to do for this, because you guys are getting more information, and so you want to be perceived as someone who follows through on everything, and so I want to be able to assist you guys in that process. Make sure you're using your campus. A lot of this information you're getting should go back to your campus, where you can spread the word to other students. I would encourage you guys to start inviting more people. I'm feeling that you guys are more comfortable at a rate where you can handle the public now. So I'm more encouraged to invite more people. I wouldn't define success as a packed out room where, you guys have to see yourself as a governing body. And so the biggest thing is this group. So you guys have to decide within the group, different policies or things you want to see in the future, because it's a true possibility that you can make that happen. So your focus always should be this group while also inviting other people. So I wouldn't measure success as a packed out room. That doesn't give you an excuse to not put effort in to go reach out to your students. You should be talking to students about the Beaumont Youth Advisory Council, the things that you're talking about, because you want the feedback. Dealing with homelessness and things like that, just getting their input, I think makes you a better representative, and it makes us a better city because now we have more feedback. Did you want to say something, Yash? Okay, I thought you was grabbing your mic to say something. Do y'all have any questions for me before we close?
So just to be clear, next meeting we'll be discussing our legislative.
Yeah, next
agenda.
meeting we'll vote on a final draft. So by next meeting, this should be finished, because I've already done like pretty much most of the work. So I took you guys' feedback and put it up there. So you may agree with it, you may want to add something, you may want to take it away, but the template is right there. So you just kind of take it and you can make some changes if you would like to. We're getting close to 6 p.m. Any other questions or concerns?
Any further comment? Well, all right, y'all. We're 2 minutes past the hard stop at 6, so we will see everybody. We will see each other again at the next meeting. All right, y'all. Have a good night. Thank you, everybody, for coming.